I'm Kim Crable on set with the Coffee with Kim show. We're back in California filming a brand new series. You're not going to believe who's stopping by for coffee. Come on in, join us.
And I've got the joy deep down in my heart. I'm waking up with your love from the start. I'm chasing the rainbow through the rain. I know it's gonna be a beautiful day.
Welcome to Coffee and Equip. I'm Kim Crable, your host. Today, we are tackling a dark topic. We're going to talk about an epidemic, but not the COVID epidemic that has monopolized our thoughts the past year and a half. We will explore an epidemic that few of us even think about, the epidemic of child sex trafficking. Many of us are barely aware of its existence, yet it is the fastest growing criminal enterprise today. Let's take a look.
There are about 75 cartel organizations that are controlling and trafficking women and children. Now, this is slavery. These children come from our families. It's evil.
I don't ever feel like I'm going to be the same. I feel marked.
How much is 2 girls for a half hour?
I really wanted my mom to love me. And I also didn't want her to be sick.
I'll do it for 150.
It's so common that no matter what town you're in, you could probably go within a couple blocks and find a victim or a perpetrator of child trafficking.
Hi, how are you? Very nice to meet you.
The sexual of children has increased exponentially.
It begins with a glance, with a kind word, with a conversation, and pretty soon you've developed this relationship.
Hey.
No family deserves to have this happen in their life. You're never the same. Never.
Real men do not prey upon defenseless and precious children. Knock it off, or we're coming for you. We must not be tolerant of that which will kill us or that which will destroy our children. We can't be a network of people that says no more by ourselves.
The stories are something that the general public will never even imagine could happen. As long as there is supply, demand, it will never end.
That was a trailer for Contraland, and our guest today is Contraland's executive producer, Craig Sawyer. Craig is the founder of Veterans for Child Rescue. His team is made up of military professionals, former and current, and others who are dedicated to raising awareness about child sexual trafficking, rescuing the victims, and putting these predators behind bars. When we return, we will be joined by former Marine, Navy SEAL, and Federal Air Marshal, Craig Sawyer.
When you sit in a group of men that have a high level of trust and compassion for one another, amazing things happen in those conversations. I think it's incredibly valuable because strain, burden, stress, hardship are inevitable. You're not going to live a life without that. It happens. Once it happens, the only thing we have after that is how we deal with it. And we have two options. One, bottle it up and never talk about it, or pretend it doesn't exist. Or option two is try to talk about it in a constructive way that helps you grow. And the importance of this for men in a non-judgmental way, to be able to sit and talk in that way about real issues and real problems, is life-altering.
What you realize quickly is that all the group of men that you're sitting there with, who at the beginning you don't know, are all facing very similar challenges in their faith and in their lives.
For many people, and many of us, there were things we were carrying for a long time that we didn't even know we were carrying because we had them for so long. And when you finally let them go, it changes the way you see the world. It changes the way that
and start to address that burden That's when the healing begins. And for men, addressing that burden privately, let alone publicly, is massively difficult.
It's a nonprofit ministry, so like any ministry, it relies on donations. Donations go to books, donations go to hosting events that bring people in. Every event that we have changes someone's life. There are a few things in your life or in the world that you can do that have that impact. And we're here to tell you that it has that impact. So if you are interested in having your life change for the better, if you feel a voice in your head calling you and saying you want something more, you go to kimcrable.org and check it out.
This is an opportunity for you to not only change your path and your faith journey, but also an opportunity for you to grow your family's journey as well.
So join us, Confront and Conquer, at kimcrable.org or on Facebook. We'd love to see you there and connect with you.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee. Well, as promised, we have with us right now Craig Sawyer, and with all that you have, gosh, I read this. Listen, you are a former Marine, Navy SEAL, Federal Air Marshal, you know, with credentials. Why this fight?
I think God was preparing me for what I do now with all of those prior experiences. I didn't know what I was working toward. I thought I was just defending our homeland against evil, terrorism mainly. And now that I found out that something even worse is happening to our children on such a wide scale, such a pervasive industrial scale, upsets me to the point to where I just felt like it was my burden to carry this fight and expose it. Because if you go around knocking on door to door and you ask people, do you realize that child sex trafficking is this pervasive and it's generating more revenue than all pro sports combined? They'd be like, what are you talking about? I don't see children being harmed and raped. Right. So it's being kept from them. So I think exposing it is the biggest thing I can do. And I just feel a burn to do that as best I can with the rest of my time.
How did your former life prepare you for this?
Oh man, I've got all the deadly skills, right? Navy SEALs are killers because we're supposed to go kill the bad guys before they come here and wreck our peace and freedom. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a problem for the bad guys now who traffic children and want to protect that criminal enterprise. Mm-hmm. They kind of got to figure out how they're going to pick their shots if they're going to take a whack at me. I think that's good, but it also prepared me operationally. My law enforcement experience, as well as my counterterrorism experience and my intelligence community experience and even my diplomatic community experience, connected me to a lot of people that are really helpful now in helping me fight this.
Yes.
And it was all a dressed rehearsal. All of them were training that really do empower me toward this. So the deadly skills, but the surveillance skills, the law enforcement, investigative skills are really probably the most important for this. Yeah. Uncovering the cesspool of perversion and corruption and finding out what is going on and what do the people need to know.
And to be able to see what other people are not seeing, those skills that you have. Okay, so.
And to be able to stomach it, quite frankly, because it is upsetting, even for a decorated combat veteran. It turns my stomach and it breaks my heart. So.
Yeah, and your passion is so real about this, and that's why I'm so thankful that you came on the show. But let me ask you this. In our preparation paperwork, you said to me in writing that it was very important for me to watch the Contraland, because if I didn't, then our conversation wouldn't go very well because we make assumptions.
Yes, ma'am.
I want to talk about that. What are the assumptions that aside on this? How are we getting it so wrong?
Some of the things were my own misperceptions and assumptions before a friend of mine from the CIA had let me know that the area just north of Houston that we had grown up together had become the hottest epicenter of child trafficking in the United States. And some of those are that it's just in another country, it's someone else's problem, it's someone else's children. Surely it's not here in an educated, relatively wealthy
Christian
society. So many Christians, we would never tolerate that.
Right.
Well, I'm telling you what, the area just north of Houston, Texas is very Christian, and we're very against child trafficking, yet it is rampant there. North Harris County is saturated with it. So the people need to know. We can't fight what we don't know. We can't fight a threat that we don't perceive.
As a counselor, I'm always saying to people, you can't conquer what you're not willing to confront. And so, boy, you're confronting this head on. Okay, so there's
Well, you hit another point there, moral courage.
Yes.
That's something that I think we as a society have to kind of reach down and find our moral courage and stand up and say no more.
Yes.
You know, there's a line of which we must not allow to be crossed. And the children have to be behind that line. We have to stand guard in front of the children. And we just have to. The Bible commands us to do it. Even common human decency commands us to do it. You can't grab a bear cub or a lion cub without getting mauled to death. That mama's coming for you.
Yes.
Why are we any less protective and defensive of our precious and innocent children as humans?
Right.
You know, against predators. We must be.
We're closing our eyes to it. You said something that I had to, on the tape, that I had to rewind, and I kept listening. I thought, I mean, it was shocking. And I've always felt like I was pretty up on these things and knew the statistics. Oh, I had no idea compared to what you were sharing with us. But so when I watch Contraland, of course it's not easy to watch, but it's something that every American should watch because of the information that you have in there. Is something we must know. But there was a statement that you made that we have to talk about. You said, child sex trafficking has become so common in the United States that no matter in what town we're living, you could probably go within a couple of blocks and find a victim or perpetrator of child trafficking. Oh my gosh.
That's accurate. It's not somewhere else.
It's
Children,
here.
It's gotten all the way down to bad parents selling their own children, children selling themselves now. These are things that I've learned about over the 4 years. And when I first started this mission in faith, I got a broken heart and I'm ticked off about this and I'm going to fight and I'm going to expose it. And a lot of my friends in the film and television industry said, yeah, God's work, yeah, we'll do that. And a couple of years went by and I realized nobody's going to help me do this. And so I had to do it independently and go around the gatekeepers. But this is ugly. This is ugly.
Yeah, so tell me, how do we, so tell me what you, remind us again some of the things you're doing, but more importantly, tell us how we can be involved. This is something that you need, you have lots of help, but you need more?
We need more. I can't do any of this by myself.
Right.
What I'm doing about it, exposing it. Again, if I can recruit 320 or 340 million Americans to rise up and hound their elected, this doesn't go any further. We want this eradicated in our state or in our county. Stronger enforcement against the predator, stronger protections for the children, quit grooming our children in elementary school to be good little victims. And instead, let's harden them against them. Let's make the children harder targets, things like that. So,
what does that mean? I'm sorry. What does that mean about not grooming our children? What do you mean by that?
Well, they're teaching our children now about every manner of perversion at an earlier and earlier stage. And that's out of the communist playbook. That's a Marxist tactic. Break down the morality, demoralize and destabilize the society so it's easier to take over. They want to wreck everything that made the United States insurmountable as a nation. Undefeatable. We were united. Take the 1950s. We loved our country. We loved our flag, our national anthem. We loved each other. We loved our freedoms and liberties. We were a strongly Christian-based society. Judeo-Christian values where take care of your neighbor the way that you want them to treat you. These things made sense and caused harmony. And we would fight. We had a strong work ethic and we would fight for our nation. So that is all under attack. And one of the things is demoralizing the society and picking them at a younger and younger age where their minds are very susceptible. They can't advocate for themselves and teaching them all manner of perversions so that they are defiled and lost morally, and they're easier to victimize for it. So that's what that's about.
Because they're so busy looking for acceptance.
Yes, ma'am.
I've just talked
Children
to
just want to be loved. They want to belong. They want to understand how things work, and
want to be protected.
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There's such an attack on our home fronts now, and that really is the gateway into our children, right?
It is.
Children being on computers, all the access in the world that you have to these kids now because of, I don't know, what is it? Is it as adults, have we gotten so self-consumed with what's going on in our world that we've forgotten about what's going on inside our world?
That's a large factor of it. It is. We're busy we're having to work more hours now
Yeah.
to provide for our families, whereas in the 50s, a father could work and the mother could stay home and they could afford everything. Now it's not like that. Both parents pretty much need to hustle and work even multiple jobs to make do. And the state wants the children at an earlier age to take them in even preschool to start indoctrinate them on the Marxist ideology and to accept that.
It's such an attack on our families. It's such a satanic attack, really, when you think about all that's going on. So, Craig, all this kind of hit home with you. That was your wife that was on there. So
that's my hardest segment of Contraland to watch. It chokes me up every time. Because Tressa's Irish and Cherokee. If she gets choked up, it chokes me up.
Yeah.
She's pretty hard in a lot of ways, but she's a loving mother and wife, but she's
tough.
When something breaks her heart, rattles her, I feel it.
Yeah.
So yeah, she's been through it with me. I
Yeah.
couldn't do this without her.
And with your daughter?
With our daughter's become a hero of mine, and she fought back, and it traumatized her. What happened to her, what people will see in Contraland is what happened to her. And she decided to fight back, and she served as a junior decoy agent with us in an operation in Utah, and she helped put 9 predators away, and 100% conviction rate. So that was just one thing that somebody can do, and I was glad to be able to provide that opportunity for her and have that experience with her as a father or daughter.
Yeah.
And just watch her, just fold her little arms and look right at the predator when he was being handcuffed, and watch his face change from predator into prisoner, because he realized his life had just changed. He'd gotten caught. He was going to rape no more. He was going to prison, and he knew it.
Yeah. So do you feel like that you have the backing of law enforcement, and well, maybe not law enforcement, but our legal system?
It depends. Just like everything else, it's an individual basis.
Yes.
We find locations where their district attorney is a man or woman of strong moral and ethical character, and they mean to serve and protect their county. Those people we can work with, and we do. We do fine work, and we help rack up a lot of wins, take a lot of predators off the streets, and run in operations with their law enforcement, federal and local, up to 9 agencies at a time in some of our operations. And it rattles some of the law enforcement, because until they run these type of operations, they don't know that they have that many child predators in their hometown. And it's kind of like, Craig, there's a lot of hugs and high fives after the arrest. They're like, we didn't realize we had this big a problem here in our town. I'm like, I told you.
But yet it stays such a secret.
I think that's probably one of the most upsetting things about this, is to see how many gatekeepers, if you want to use that term, are determined to keep this factual reality from the people. I believe that knowledge is power. If you love people, you want them empowered with that knowledge. You teach your children things to safeguard themselves, don't you? I mean, we all do that. And I want to empower the American populace with what they need to know to safeguard themselves and their children from this. But it's like all of the major microphones and speakers out there, mainstream news media, Hollywood, they're against this getting out. Big tech, they censor our operations and our posts and our film. There's an active suppression activity out there to silence this, and it's really disheartening to see that's part of our society and that prevalent.
Yes.
It's real disappointment.
Yeah, well, of course, it really is. Okay, so take us inside what you do. I mean, do you pick a territory and you go in? This is what courage it takes to do this, but just give us a behind-the-scenes look.
Well, some of what we do, we have friends. I've got friends all over the country. I've worked several different agencies and blessed with friends that kind of all over. And they'll connect me to district attorneys that they know, hey, this is a man or woman of strong ethical character. Craig, they'll operate in good faith with you. And we strike up a conversation and have meetings, and they start identifying what agencies that they want to involve that they trust, and they bring them in, and we plan the operation. And once everybody's comfortable and understands this is going to be a worthy operation, we plan it out. I let them know how we do our thing, and we pretty much run the operation, and they provide external security and logistics locally. And once we've got the predators, in the case of the sting operation, once the predator is completely incriminated, we go ahead and bring them to our location, interview them a little bit more, all on camera and audio. And then once we've exhausted our questioning, I give a brevity code and I step out of the way and let law enforcement effect the handcuffing and takedown. And they take them down and book them. And we reset and we bring in the next one. So that's one of the operations. But we've got 23 criminal investigators now. Wow. With a full-time program manager. Wow. And 30 intelligence agencies, intelligence analysts from every which agency out there on our team. So we're building our operational program rapidly as we speak. And so here in a couple days, I'm going to drive to another state, and we're going to start another set of operations there. And it's just expanding more and more, rallying the assets and building this program. I call it a war machine. I'm building a war machine against child trafficking in the United States, and I never thought I'd have to do that.
That is amazing to me. So what is the time, like from beginning to end? How long does it take you to go into an area and do this?
We can do it relatively quickly. With strong law enforcement support, we can set this up in a few days and run. Usually by the time we've got a 3-day operation, the jail's so full that they're like, okay, let's reset and do it again another time.
Oh my gosh, good for you.
So it can be done relatively quickly. But we're training, certification, and vetting of all of our personnel. It's a careful process of building this once and building it right and keeping the infiltrators out of it. It's pretty complex. It sounds like a simple concept. Stop people from raping children, expose it. And it is in concept, but the application is quite complex. But we're building it, and God's with us. And it's an ugly topic, Kim. It breaks my heart. Yeah. But my soul is soaring, because every day I get to know that I'm doing something. I'm doing something. And when I speak to crowds now and I see them agreeing to help and coming up to volunteer and to donate to our organization, to pray for us, and there's this unity and energy, I'm seeing, okay, it's working. It's connecting. And they're like, Craig, all my work, they follow you now. They support you. So God's blessing it, and it's expanding. So it's humbling. And I'm grateful to just have a part, to do something. Because imagine just being stuck on the sidelines and seeing that this is going on and not being able to do anything. I'm glad that I have something to where I can contribute and go, okay, maybe on my deathbed I'll look back and go, hey, I did some good there. You know what I mean? It's that simple. I'm just a busted up veteran and father now, and I just want to help.
Know how many lives you truly saved. You'll never ever know the good. And so does that... you see some of the fruit, but what just keeps you in this fight? There has to be moments where you just get tired. There has to be moments. Are there or no?
There are. That's why God gave me a strong Irish and Cherokee wife that it says, Craig Sawyer, hasn't God always been faithful to you at every step? I'm like, well, she's right. And then the next song I turn on is the faithfulness of God, the goodness of God, rather. And then that's the first song they sing at church on Sunday morning. I'm like, okay, I hear you.
There you go.
I'll keep the faith. I'll not have a moment's hesitation next time, not a moment's discouragement. Come the blows that may, because there's an industry out there trying to smear my name, as they do anybody that stands up and exposes this and fights. And we just sued one of those defamers in court for malicious defamation, and won the case against him for $4.65 million.
Wow.
Now, he doesn't have that to pay, but precedent's been set and facts came out. So God's got our backs.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, I'm going to give you another one of your comments, your quotes from the book, that I think is going to end all this on a very hopeful note. We'll be right back.
Burdens to blessings. Cherished. Infinitely more. Perfectly imperfect. These are just some of the many books, DVDs, and teaching series available on kimcrable.org. You can find all of her merchandise at kimcrable.org/shop.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Coffee. This has been an informative conversation. I hope that each of us will take to heart and see what our part in this is. As we conclude, though, there was another statement that you made, another quote that we have to end on that I loved. You said in the book or in the film that in spite of all the darkness that we have seen in this fight to protect children, your words, the light will outshine the darkness every time.
Yes, ma'am. That's a statement of faith and quotes from the Bible. Jesus calls out darkness and deceit, and he calls it what it is. It's straight from the pit of hell. And we, as children of God, are supposed to shine the light. We are supposed to expose deceit and lies, and we're supposed to shine the light on the darkness. And I love the saying that there is no speed of darkness. There's a speed of light. You know, and God wants us to shine the light, and it's a privilege to do it.
I love that, and that's the hope that we have. So in about 30 seconds, tell everyone how they can be a part of what you're doing.
Yeah, man. Well, you can go to vetsforchildrescue.org, and there's a list of tools there that will empower you with how to safeguard your children, how to get into their phones and find out some harmful apps that may cause them to be susceptible to predators. You could donate to our org, you could pray for us, you could buy merch, and just connect. Write your elected officials and things like that. A lot of good tools there. And go to contralandmovie.com and please watch it. It's a good faith public service alert, and it's meant to empower you.
And it does, and it does. Thank you so much for joining us for coffee. As always, it's such a delight of mine to be able to bring information to our people so that we can get busy about the things that really happen. It's always an honor to be invited into the homes of our friends, and I know that they've so much, I can't say enjoy, but they have been enlightened by the information that you've given to us, and what a worthy cause.
Well, bless you for having the moral courage for it, because
Absolutely.
so few do. I don't want to interrupt you, but that's important for me to express.
Absolutely, absolutely, and I want to be a part of this, most definitely, and our ministry any way that we can. Even though it's hard, friends, I want you to watch Contraland. It is both eye-opening and heartbreaking, but it's a fight in which we must find our place to win this battle. As Craig Sawyer says, we must not be tolerant of that which will kill us or that will destroy our children. Together, friends, with God's help, we can and we must end this attack on the most precious and innocent, our children. Thank you so much for joining us. I'll see you next time on Coffee.